Well, hello everybody. So this right here is the progress I've made with the a simple Arduino library for the for Liberty Basic. So right here, I got up on my screen the code for it. Yep, installing something. And I have my Arduino, and this one's actually a clone. It's not really a legitimate one. I just bought this. It was a cheap made in China one. It's not licensed or nothing. They put the logos on there. It's actually pretty terrible, but it was like $8 or something like that, so that's why I'm using it. So what I'm going to do is I am going to pull up the example here. So this right here is the example program which I wrote to use the library, and I'll go through kind of how it works here. So I'm just going to go and run it. So what it does is it brings up the Arduino demo. Now in this particular case, I'm just going to go and pull up my serial port using the device manager. So we'll give it a second here. Okay, so this right here is my device manager, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my COM ports, and right here this is my Arduino Uno on COM3. So I've already downloaded the sketch onto the Arduino board. Then there's plenty of information out there on the internet about how to do that, so I'm not going to cover that in here. What I am going to cover is using this demo program, which, keep in mind, this is just a demo. This isn't intended for you to be controlling things from this program. You would want to write your own to do that using the functions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter in the COM port. I'm going to select the pin that I want to control. Now, on the Arduino board, pin 13 is connected to an LED. So currently the LED is on. So what I'm going to do is actually, let's see whether I can hang this up. So I got a touch screen here, which is kind of funky, and I'm trying to do this all with one hand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit set pin high. Okay, or set pin high-low status. Notice how I sent nothing and how the LED went out, and it returned a value of 1, meaning that the command was executed. So I'm going to put in a value of 1 in there, and I am going to hit the set pin status. Notice how the LED turns on, and if I click in there and set that back to 0 and set the pin status, it turns off. So you can do that for pretty much any pin. Now, the get pin high-low status button, what that does is it'll return the value of an input pin. So what it does when it executes that code is it goes and it says to the pin, you're an input pin. That's the first thing it does, and then it goes and it gets the pin state. So if a pin was connected to positive, it would report back 1. If it was connected to negative, it would report back 0. And if it wasn't connected, it would most likely report back 0. I don't know, is this pull up or pull down? Whatever it is. So there we are. Now the PWM output, that's for like servos, so you can control a servo, and you can do PWM input for controlling or for receiving information from like thermometers, potentiometers, and stuff like that. So you can use those circuits for that. And what that'll do is that'll actually return a value for PWM input. That'll return the value for that PWM. PWM output will return a value of 1 if you set it. okay, even though you set it to a value of whatever you set it to position the servo or dim a light or whatever. Now, I'm going to take a little basic walkthrough of the code, so I'm going to close this out. And if I scroll down here, okay, so when it does the set pin, it goes and it gets the contents of it finds out what pin to send it to, what the COM port is, and the value to send to the pin. So it grabs the text from those fields and the selection of the pin, and then it throws that all into this function. So this function is AD, which is the Arduino .set, and then it has COM port selection, so that's the COM port that you found by going into the device manager, right? And then we have the pin selection, so that's the pin that it's going to turn on or off, high or low. And then the value to send is either a 1 or a 0. Depending on what that is, it's either going to go high or low. So we have the get pin command. Okay, so these all correspond to these buttons. So the get pin, what it's going to do is it's going to use the COM port again, whatever COM port the Arduino's on, and then it's going to give it the pin that it wants to query. So this is going to go and check to see whether that pin is high or low. And remember, this is an input. This isn't querying whether or not the pin was already high or low. I would hope that you would keep track of that on this side, as opposed to doing it from the other side. Now, Pwm Output, again, this is formatted exactly like the set command, except instead of a 1 or a 0, you're sending a number. So the COM port, the pin, and then the value to send. And then PWM in, this is set up exactly like the get pin over here, where it gets the value 1 or 0. This one's set up to get the PWM input, which is going to return back a number, not a 1 or a 0. It's going to return back a number. Now down here, these are the functions. Okay, so what this does is it calls the AD talk to device on the COM port. It puts in the text command, which is actually sent across the serial port. I know this requires some overhead and it takes a little bit longer, but I think it makes it more self-explanatory if somebody wanted to add new code to the Arduino side. And then it's the value. So it puts all that stuff together into a string, and then it sends that as the message to the Arduino, and then it returns the value as that function there. And these are all 4 of the functions that I've currently got implemented, which do basic pin I/O. Now down here, this is the function which talks to the Arduino. So what it does is it takes the port number and the message, it opens up the port, and it sends the message. It waits for the Arduino to respond with a 1 or a 0, depending on whether or not the command was executed on the Arduino, or it could return back a value. So it could return back a value from a PWM input, which would just be a number. And then what it does is it takes that number and it returns it as the value of the function, and that's how these functions get the value back from them. But all these do is they kind of wrap that talk to Arduino code, talk to device code. All these do is they really wrap that up and they put in the text for those commands, making it easy for you to use. Now, I do plan on putting out a better video at some point here that describes the functions better and has some I have a breadboard arrangement at home. I'm actually over at the shop right now, so I could show you that it's working on different pins and whatnot. I have had reports that people have been using it for input from potentiometers and stuff, so I know that there's some good stuff happening. Okay, I will end the video now and upload it to YouTube and post it on the forum. Okay.